Hello, so today we are going to speak about narrative tenses. These are tenses that we use to speak about something that happened in the past. There are 4 different narrative tenses: past simple, past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. Let's see the difference between those tenses. So first of all, easy one, past simple. Let's have an example. I finished school in 2022. So we use past simple to speak about actions that happened at a specific moment in the past. For example, in 2022. We can make questions with when we use past simple. For example, when did you finish school? And when we answer this question, we will have to mention a specific moment in the past. For example, I finished school in 1997. Okay, remember that for past simple, we use regular verbs with ed at the end, and irregular verbs should have their second form. Let's say, for example, eat, ate, yeah? And if you want to make a question, I would like to remind you to use the auxiliary verb did. Please don't forget about it. You also need this verb to make a negative sentence. For example, I didn't travel last year. Okay? So now let's move to speak about past continuous. Past continuous we use to speak about an activity that was happening, that was in progress, also in a specific moment in the past. For example, she was sleeping yesterday at 10 o'clock. Remember that when you want to make a sentence in past continuous, you need to use auxiliary verb to be in the past. So it can be was for singular, and were for plural. And the main verb should be finishing with ing. She was sleeping, we were dancing, they were traveling. Okay? Then the next tense is past perfect. Past perfect we use to speak about actions that happened before a specific moment in the past or before another action in the past. It's important to remember that they're like pre-past actions. Let's look at the example. We had lived in Peru before we moved to Brazil. If you look at these examples, let's analyze it. So what happened first? We had lived in Peru, and then we moved to Brazil. So the action that happened before another action in the past should be in past perfect. How do we use past perfect? We need to use auxiliary verb had all the time, and then the main verb should be in its past participle form. What is it past participle? For regular verbs, these are verbs that finish with ed, and for irregular verbs, that's going to be the third form of the verb. For example, we had eaten a lot before breakfast, yeah, or something. Okay, so that is past perfect. And then the last tense that we should mention today, it's past perfect continuous. Past perfect continuous is used for actions that were happening before a specific moment in the past or before another action in the past. Let's look at the example. I had been studying law before I changed my major. I had been studying, that is an example of past perfect continuous form. To make a sentence in past perfect continuous, you need to use 2 auxiliary verbs. The first one is had, and the second one is been. They're never changed. They're all the time the same for all the subjects. And then the main verb is finishing with ing because it's continuous form. So continuous forms, they also have ing at the end. You can also make negative sentences or questions with any of these tenses. For example, negative sentence in past perfect continuous can be like this. I hadn't been studying accounting before I changed my major. Yeah? So please remember these 4 narrative tenses, and I hope you now understand the difference between them better.